I said, hey, do not be surprised if the Ohio State Buckeyes are the number one team in the country, according to the suits in Grapevine, Texas. And that is exactly what they did. They looked at Ohio State and they saw a football team that has been really good at keeping people out of the end zone, really good at getting into the end zone, and possesses the best player in college football in Marvin Harrison Jr. And then they took it a step further. They said, let's look at who they beat. They beat Notre Dame on the road in South Bend. They beat Penn State, who was undefeated at the time, at the Shoe. And they have since continued to do nothing but prove they are one of the 4 best teams in the sport. And to them, the number one team in the sport. I thought that this was the way they would go if they were really stacking up the resumes against each other, along with undefeated against each other, and the caliber of competition in your conference. I don't think that it's a stretch to say it now. The Big Ten is one of the 3 strongest conferences in this sport, and they have a really great argument for being number 1. Precisely because you see that team at number 3 for the committee is Michigan, right? Now, there's going to be lots of conversation about this going into, but I mean, let's talk about it right now. Ohio State and Michigan is now a de facto play-in game for the college football playoff if these teams continue to do what they have been doing, which is just beating up on everybody else they have played. Now, I find this to be really interesting because it sets Ohio State up to be in the position that it was in last year, where all you got to do is win and get in. But if things shake out the way that they did last year, the loser of Ohio State, Michigan could also get into the college football playoff. So right now we're seeing the committee really does value not just Ohio State and Michigan, but the teams that they have played and the other teams in their conference. Like, as much as we throw shade at the Big Ten West, they are pretty decent in as far as their out-of-conference is concerned, beating up on each other, something else entirely. I think Ohio State is not shocked to be number 1, but after how we have been ranking that team through the first 10 weeks of the season, they would be right to be like, oh, so the suits watch a little Buckeye football. Well, it seems they watch a lot of Buckeye football because they're seeing what I see, right? Jim Knowles' defense in year 2, they're keeping the lid on the end zone. They haven't given up more than 17 points in any game to any opponent all year long. They get Rutgers this Saturday. Rutgers, who is, by the way, 6-2, bowl eligible. Hello. It's not as easy a win as it has been in the past by any stretch, but you expect the number 1 ranked Buckeyes to make light work of the Scarlet Knights as we continue to march toward the game on Thanksgiving weekend. But it's really, do you still get more out of this Ohio State offense? Because I think you can. Now, Ryan Day said earlier today that Mayan Williams is out for the season. That's a big deal. Mayan Williams had over 850 rush yards last year and was the number 2 on a pretty doggone good Ohio State football team. Fell just a field goal short of knocking off defending national champion Georgia. But Travion Henderson is healthy, and we know what he's like when he is. He's a home run hitter. He had 162 rush yards and 207 total yards in their last win. We know what Marvin Harrison Jr. is capable of. He ought to be their first Biletnikoff Award winner at Ohio State since Terry Glenn, and perhaps their first Heisman winner since 2006, right? We're talking about Troy Smith at quarterback there. Now, you really want to win a national championship at Ohio State before you want to win the Biletnikoff Award and the Heisman, but you get it right now. Plus, add to this, Chip Trayanum has been nothing but great for the Buckeyes in the backfield. And as that offensive line continues to find out how good it can be, expect Travion Henderson, Chip Trayanum, and even Dallin Hayden given time, right? Maybe he's in there, maybe he's not, to get an opportunity here. We'll see what other wide receivers step up next to Marvin Harrison Jr. Cade Stover really is coming on as, I think, a guy that's probably going to end up a Mackey Award finalist. We'll see, right? It's there for him to take. But really, that defense continue to come on, that defense continuing to perform, and the safety play that they've been getting has been outstanding. So I am okay with Ohio State at number 1 here. 2, 3, and 4, I got no problem with this. Georgia looked like Georgia for the first time all year in their win against Florida last weekend. And it really put a spotlight on what Georgia has done, not what Georgia has been this season. Georgia, 25 straight wins this going into this weekend, and 41-1 since their last loss to Florida in 2020. They get a ranked Missouri this weekend, which is going to be for SEC East supremacy. But if you're Georgia, continue to do what you've been doing, right? The fact that you were able to outscore Florida, put up 43 without your best player in Brock Bowers, speaks volumes about what your offense is capable of, right? We understand Dajan Edwards is that guy in the backfield, and we understand Carson Beck is actually starting to show himself to be the kind of passer that many expected him to be at the start of the season. He's now number 2 in the SEC in passing after putting up over 300 on that Florida defense. I'm really excited to see how Kirby Smart's defense comes along, though, because that's really why we think Georgia is a national championship contender for a 3rd consecutive year. And let's not bury the lead there. They are looking to become the first 3-time national champion in a row in the modern era. You got to take it back to the 1930s when Minnesota did it, but not a whole lot of people believed Minnesota did it, right? The voting was all sorts of wonk, and there wasn't the playoff system we have now. To do this the way that Georgia has done it, that would be remarkable, and we would have to start talking about Kirby as being one of our greatest of all times, and these 3 Georgia teams is a dynasty that we might not ever see again. They're right there on the threshold. And then you got Michigan at number 4, Michigan number 3, Florida State number 4. Now, a lot of people that are saying Michigan ain't played nobody, and they'd be right. I would tell you that all Michigan is doing is dominating whoever they play. It hasn't mattered who that is. They've had some ups, they've had some downs, but as the season has gone on, they have shown themselves to be one of the class college football teams in our sport, and they're going to be much healthier and much less taxed in this November than many other teams are because they've been able to get into 4th quarters where all they've been able to do is sit their starters and let the backups get really good game preparation in times that may have not got for, say, Ohio State, right, who need to come from behind and go beat Maryland, for instance. I'm also going to add in there, I think as we get to see Michigan play better teams, notably Penn State and Ohio State, we'll get a better understanding of what Michigan is capable of. But it's also, I've said it this long, and we can't dance around it. Michigan is in trouble with the cheating sign stealing scandal. How that affects their season, it hasn't, not yet, right? We still have to wait on someone, whether it be the Big Ten, the NCAA, to tell us what to do or what is going to be their punishment. But right now, if you are Michigan, all you can do is win out, make the college football playoff, and do something you've never done in school history, win a college football playoff game. Because as much shade as people want to throw at Ohio State for being the number 1 team in the country, because I know it's coming, they have played in the national championship, and they have won a national championship in the college football playoff era. So we have proof to show that after beating Michigan, they can hold up their end. We don't have any proof to show that after Michigan beats Ohio State, they can hold up their end, right? I think that that's going to play into the psyche of the committee, which is the reason that we have it, right? We want them to use their brains, use their eyes. We don't want to see computers do this damn thing. Now, you put Florida State here at number 4. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with this one because they beat an LSU team that has already caught 2 losses, right? And whose really best win is Missouri, okay? They're also a Florida State team that need to come from behind to beat Clemson in overtime, which in, previous years, say the last 10, would mean something. But this year, not only do you have Clemson 4-4, you got Dabo Swinney doing an entire segment on Tyler from Spartanburg about what Clemson has done in the past and how he needs to appreciate what Clemson has done in the past and not so this season so hard. I don't want that win on my resume if I'm Florida State in the way that people got to look at it. Then you're looking at Duke, who was ranked when you played them, right? But you played them at home. They had their best player on one leg, and when he was on the football field, he was winning the game. I can't look at this Florida State team and trust them. I don't know how good they are, honestly. I know what I think the ceiling is, right? Could they walk through the rest of the ACC into the ACC title game undefeated? Absolutely, probably will. They don't have a ranked team left, and the best team capable of beating them that might get in the ACC title game right now is Louisville, but quiet as it's kept, Virginia Tech has a path to the ACC title. All they got to do is beat Louisville this weekend, continue that, and then we're talking about Florida State playing Va Tech, which, again, during the Beamer era would have been a very big deal. During the Bowden era would have been a very big deal. Today feels like 2014 Florida State all over again, where you'll run through the entire schedule undefeated and then get beat like a drum by Donald and the Ducks over there in Eugene, Oregon. All right. Now we get into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So 5 and 6, right where they should be. Washington beat Oregon. Washington's undefeated. Okay. I don't care that Oregon has looked like a better football team. They lost to Washington. Okay. Don't lose to Washington. Be the number 5 or even number 4 team in the country, even argument for number 3 if you get the win, right? But we also were talking about a Washington team that hasn't looked great since beating Oregon. Very close contest to teams that we don't think are very good if you're not paying attention to Pac-12 football. Like Stanford, been giving everybody fits. Arizona been getting everybody fits, all right? Arizona State been giving everybody fits. I understand that if you're down on them, you expect them to go beat these teams like a drum. You don't expect them to really have to claw their way toward victory at the end, but that's winning football. We're looking at a Washington team that is 8-0 for the first time since 2016. Last time they made it to 8-0, they made the college football playoff, right? And I think a big reason is Michael Penix Jr., Rome Odunze. Those guys have been outstanding. They're going to absolutely have an opportunity to put up some points this weekend as they get a really terrible USC defense to play. And they get yet another ranked opponent because USC is here, number 20, but they are here. I'm looking at Oregon and saying, just take care of business. After what you did against Utah, we're all on board, right? I thought that Oregon has the best opportunity to win the Pac-12 championship, even after the loss to Washington, right? Even as Washington is the front runner. If you go undefeated through the rest of your schedule, you win the Pac-12 title game, you're going to get into the playoff because you're probably going to see Washington for a second time if they take care of their business. We got to see a very efficient Bo Nix, a very good run game from Bucky Irving, and a Blitnikoff Award finalist, maybe winner, depending on how the rest of the season goes, and Troy Franklin, but it was really the defense that showed out to me. They did what USC could not. They held a Utah offense in check that should have always been held in check. I love the story of Bryson Barnes beating Caleb Williams, but when you can walk into Salt Lake City and you can hold Utah to 6 points, no TDs, you got a defense that's worth talking about, right? I think that they're going to be right there at the end. Bo Nix is getting to show his maturity and his experience. That dude might be playing himself into the first round of the draft next year. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.